I think I needed stand-up in a way that I don't need it now. And I think a lot of it was the sort of like external validation of like, oh, I'm on the right path. I'm doing this thing. I am funny. I can do this. And I worked twice as hard to get this thing and blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of that fueled my ambition. And now I'm in a much more peaceful place where it's like, I know I'm funny.
This is Good One. I am Jesse David Fox, senior writer at Vulture and author of Comedy Book. My guest today is Phoebe Robinson. We talk about her new YouTube special, I Don't Want to Work Anymore, and being a recovering girl boss. We also discuss which is harder, texting Michelle Obama or not farting in front of Michelle Obama. So here is Phoebe Robinson. I'm here with Phoebe Robinson. Thank you for joining me. So what is the funniest thing that happened to you this week?
Gosh. Okay. So I was in Berlin running the Berlin Marathon, not to brag, but I am an athlete, an unpaid one. Mm-hmm. And I would like a sponsorship. And one, Nike, Asics.
You want an one?
Yeah.
They're going to restart the company?
Yeah. But I was in Berlin and I was, I'm on these streets, I'm single. And I was like, I've never done a dating app overseas. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what's going on Bumble. So I matched with this guy, Christoph. He was very nice. I mean, of course, that's his name. He was 41. Super nice. We texted a little bit and I was like, he was texting me about something. And I go, so when are you going to call me so I can make sure that the vibe is right? And he called immediately. And I'm not going to lie, that did kind of make me hard. I was like, okay, he likes direction. So I was like, this is cute. So lovely phone call. We go out for a date, meet up for a kebab, and then we grab a drink. But he was just like, oh, I hope this wasn't too difficult to get to. And I was like, oh, no worries. I took an Uber. I'm staying at the Westin Grand Berlin. And he was like, you're staying at the Westin? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that's a really nice hotel. And I was like, because I love a Westin. Thank you so much for the Marriott Bonvoy points. But he was acting like I stayed at the Ritz.
Yeah.
Or the Four Seasons. I was like, oh yeah, I guess, yeah, my room is fine. And he goes, the Westin Grand Berlin. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, I feel like I've been to a business conference there. I was like, okay. So anyway, I'm trying to talk and he pulls out his phone to check the rate of the Westin Grand Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, yeah, that is a nice hotel. And I go, well, this is a series wrap on Christoph. Please return your clothes to wardrobe. Literally, Jesse, this was in the first 7 minutes. And I'm just even if you're wow, this chick is fancy, keep it on the inside. Okay? And then Google at home,
Yeah.
But to pull out your phone to check the rate of the hotel I'm staying at.
It would be literally you go over to a friend's place and look up how much that place costs in front of them.
Yeah.
Not when you go home like everybody else would.
It's too much.
It's too much.
And have you been to the Westin Grand Berlin? Has anyone been to it?
I'm not.
It is fine. They have little robot cleaners on the carpet. So
Maybe that's what it is.
Cute. But I was like, girl, men are very stressed out. That's what I've noticed. Men are stressed and straight single guys are stressed.
Maybe it's a German thing. Maybe all the maybe all the German people are going to sound off in the comments being literally that's a famous German tradition to look up the rates of rooms if you meet people.
It was just so wild. So I was like, yeah, this date is over. And then he was like, I looked you up. And he's like, I read your Wikipedia. I'm like, I'm not, this isn't a gotcha.
Yeah.
Christoph, what the fuck is going on?
And it's Christoph Waltz.
No, if it was Christoph Waltz, I would have been fine with it because he'd be paying for my life.
Yeah.
I would stop working.
The entire story I was imagining it being Christoph Waltz, at least because his voice is so distinct.
I know. We love a little Chris. What is he doing these days? What's going on?
I just saw he was around. He is in something.
Okay, I love that. He's working.
Definitely in something because I was like,
great.
can I reach out to Christoph Waltz? He's in something.
You can reach out to him.
No, like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I can have Christoph Waltz on the podcast.
100%.
And then he wasn't in New York doing press for whatever the thing he currently is in.
Got it. Well, Christoph Waltz, if you're listening, if you have any single friends, let me, because he's married with kids, right? I could pull up my phone, but my phone's on airplane mode because I respect podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you happy I'm here?
Yeah, I'm so happy here. I'm excited to see you.
I'm excited to see you too. It's been so long since the stand-up show that we did.
Yes.
Oh, the Padma Lakshmi stand-up show. Yeah.
So the special opens and you say,
Yes.
I'm 39 and I don't want to be a girl boss anymore.
I don't.
And I want to really unpack this because I feel like the last few years, girl bosses and aspiring girl bosses are having a reckoning with themselves. So being like, what is this thing that I signed up to do? It's really the backbone of the special, so I really want to get a sense of it. So I want to start at the beginning because I feel like there are young people who like literally only have heard the term girl boss as like a joke.
Yeah.
And not knowing that like for a while, people were like out here aspiring to be bosses that are women.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you first like heard or conceived of the concept, regardless if you've heard of the term?
I mean, I just hit my lip. Is my lipstick okay?
It's great.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I feel like my publicist, Beth, is like, what the fuck is going on with her right now? Oh, no, she's doing emails. She's not listening. That's great. That's great. She's in Microsoft Outlook, honey. I feel like I've gotten my work ethic from my parents, and they were all like growing up, like they were always like, saying like take a sense of pride in like what you do. And so I think even though I was a slacker in high school, I really found myself in college. When I moved to New York, I went to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn. And so I really just always was very diligent about like, you're a woman, you're a person of color, you just have to work super duper hard to get what you want. So it didn't necessarily, the girl boss thing didn't like click in my head. I just always held myself to this standard of like, you just have to work twice as hard to get anything. And also the early aughts, because I graduated 2006, that's like what everyone was doing that. Everyone was on the grind. Everyone was hustling. Like it just was a part of the culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it just felt normal, if that makes sense. You're like, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm trying to get cash here, I'm trying to do this, go on vacation. Like it just felt regular.
I think the thing that I was thinking back on it, I feel like Tina Fey's book was like a real pivotal moment.
I loved her book. So good.
Bossy Pants. And I feel like the idea of centralizing being a boss in terms of your personal narrative, and to say nothing of the fact of like what it then did for comedy books, I feel like it really was like, oh, like being a boss and a woman is a thing that must be reckoned with. Do you remember reading it?
Yeah, it was a great book. I loved it. I remember I lent it out. I won't say who I lent it out to, but I never got the fucking book back.
Are they famous now?
No, they're not famous. But I was like, okay, so I had to buy a second copy, but I did paperback because, listen, the first time it was hardback. Tina has enough money. You know what I mean? Love it, girl. I'm tech avail for season 2 of 4 seasons. So if you killed off Steve Carell, you could get me for a third of his rate. What is his rate per episode? 200? I would do 85,000. And my agents at UT are like, bitch, why are you negotiating?
You already talked yourself down.
Okay, no, I'll do it for 125, Tina. Thank you so much. But I loved her book. I thought it was so funny. It was so interesting. I when I was younger, I was definitely like, my dream was like to be in a power couple. Like I just felt like that's like so cool. Like he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. So I think I was just always like, I like the idea of high achieving people who are charming. I used to be like, oh, I'm gonna, be on Jay Leno. I'm gonna like have funny anecdotes about like my great husband. And now I have anecdotes about Christoph. So how the mighty have fallen. But what I really did love about her book is that she made, I think just being like, especially a woman in comedy and being like your own boss and being in charge of things, like she just made it feel very appealing very accessible and very much like if you work hard, you can achieve these things. Like maybe you won't be the head writer of SNL, but like your version of that is possible for you. And not in like, you got this girl, but it was just like through like her life story. You're like, oh yeah, I could do these things. I could take a stand-up class. I could take an improv class. I could start my own blog. Like I could be a self-starter, I think was the main takeaway from her book that I absolutely love and cherish.
And I feel like you were a self-starter as soon as, do you remember, like, you started doing comedy. I believe the story is that you went with a friend and then you're like, oh, this is like a thing for me. Did you remember how quickly you went from starting to doing it to being like, I now have ambitions through this art form?
Yeah, so I took a class at Caroline's on Broadway, RIP. This was 2008. I believe it was June or July. And had so much fun, did the class, did the graduation show. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then October of 2008, this indie film company I was working at got shut down. The recession was just rough. And I was just like, oh, this is a sign from the universe. Like, I should just go all in on this. Like, I don't know what that means. Like, just get, some day jobs, like temping or whatever. And then it was just like, I was doing open mics. I was writing. I would go do like stand up at like, biker bars in Staten Island, go do an open mic at like 11 p.m. Like I just became so obsessed with it and I became such a student. And this was back when Comedy Central, they used to air their old half hours in the morning. So I would like DVR them. I'm 41. This is harrowing for me to say DVR, but that sounds very old.
But you watched it on Paramount Plus.
Right after the Matlock reboot. That is what I did. I watched an episode of Mobland and then a Jim Gaffigan half hour. But no, I would watch all of those and I was like, that was great. And then I would watch the like HBO half hours and I just became such a student. Like I really like to nerd out on things. And I just was like, I don't know where this path is going to lead me, but I think I should just follow it because it felt, when you like buy a pair of jeans and it just fits, like the first time you try it on, it just slips on. Like that's how I felt. I was like, this just makes sense. I don't know what this is going to turn into, but I'm like, this fits.
Yeah. In the special, you blame Destiny's Child for your ambitions. Can you explain the sort of basic premise of that?
You know what? I blame Destiny's Child. I blame my dad. My dad is I love you, Dad. He's the best man I know. But he would always be like, I want you to be like Oprah and be like independent and like financially like secure and all these things. And I just am like, I am so tired. Honestly, working is so fucking ghetto. Like it is so ghetto. I'm like, please, I don't want to file any more taxes. It's a mess. It is truly a mess. And I just, as much as I do enjoy creating, there is a part of me where it's like, I've just been hustling and grinding so hard and being independent and all that stuff. Like, it's cool, but also it would be nice for someone to just like take care of stuff for me. It would be nice for like some old ass man to like pay the bills in exchange for my company, which... Listen, that's where I'm at.
That's where you're at.
But I still believe in true love, you guys.
The other joke in this section I'm curious about is, so you have the Mad Men joke. You talk about it's a documentary, and you talk about, for those who haven't seen yet, can you explain the general premise? I have a question about it.
Yes. So I basically, a lot of the special outside of sort of kind of talking about the concept of like, this notion of being a girl boss or being like independent and doing all these things, like we were sort of like sold a bill of goods that this was kind of going to be a thing that was going to like set us free. Like if women can like participate in capitalism the way that men have been doing forever, like you're going to be so happy. And then it's like, we're just all tired. You know what I mean? And so there's a crux to that. And then within that, I talk about other things and sort of just kind of like how like female sexuality has been so like undervalued and like not paid attention to. So when I bring up Mad Men, I talk about this episode. And I remember the first time I saw the scene, I was like, this shit is crazy. But Don Draper's wife, Betty, she is literally so sexually dissatisfied that she puts on a load of laundry and then puts her cooch up to it to feel the vibrations, and that's how she like basically jerks off. And I was like, I thought the 1960s were hard because of what like, I have a dream, but I was like, nobody's talking about this. None of these women were busting nuts. And like that, I think we should also talk about in addition to civil rights.
Yes.
Yes.
I was curious because
Jesse.
No, I asked about that joke also is in your last book, or that idea is in your last book. And I was curious how yourself as a author and yourself as a stand-up and how the ideas cross-pollinate or don't, sort of how these examples come together.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me with that example in particular, I think we're still sort of like in this phase of like sort of the general population understanding that sex doesn't happen to women, but that we are active participants in our own sexuality. And so I feel like that is like a theme that I don't think will ever go away in my work, because I just think that it's important to joke about these things, to talk about these things, to talk about them unabashedly. Like, I don't want there to be any like, oh, I don't know if I should. It's just like, no, like, we're going to talk about it comfortably and confidently. And so sometimes I think things will work their way, and in terms of my writing a book, sometimes stand up. And that to me, I think I like that joke because I get to like act things out a little bit. But yeah, I always want women to feel empowered and feel confident and be regardless as to what other people think about it.
Yeah.
Like not centering like other people's reaction, just being like, yeah, I'm comfortable in my body.
Do you think of the book writing part of yourself and the performer as different? Like, are they extensions of the same part of you? Like, are you, I'm a writer first and then like I can perform it and that's a fun thing to do? Or like ultimately you think of performance?
Yeah, I am. By the way, you're doing such a great job.
Already? We just started.
I'm like James Lipton. Okay. Inside the actor studio, where's your deck of blue cards? That's all we need.
I like a long piece of paper.
You like a long piece of paper. You like I'm liking the whole vibe. This is giving me like just young Brooklyn dad. I'm here for the fantasy. What was your question?
What was my question? Oh, you as a writer, you as a performer.
Yes.
So much as it reminded me of the thing of like, partly also because your writing is so voicey. It feels like a person talking. And when you're talking, and there's a writerly quality to your performing. So like, I'm trying to think of like, where do you locate itself? Is it the same part of you? Are you like a writer who also performs? Are you a performer who writes? How do you locate it all?
I think I'm a writer first. Like I've always loved books. I always used to read a lot when I was a kid, and I write, short stories and stuff. So I think everything is sort of born out of me being a writer. And I really worked hard sort of honing my voice through like college, and then also with my blog that I have, Blaria, which stood for Black Daria. I just really wanted to be like, if someone like read this, or they would know it was me. And I think I have accomplished that, and I'm very proud of that. And I think there's just like I used to, like I'm from the Midwest, I'm from Ohio. And I'm like, I used to always think like there wasn't like a musicality to my voice or a rhythm. But I'm like, that's actually like false. There's a lot of like playful things that I like to do writing wise and stand up wise. And so usually if I come up with something that like makes me laugh, I will figure out what form it makes the most sense. I think with this special, I don't want to work anymore because I had the thesis statement. I sort of knew like, okay, these are the topics that I want to touch on, and anything that doesn't fit under those umbrellas, like that gets put somewhere else. So that kind of made it easier for me. But yeah, I think I just love language so much. I think any comic does. It's just like the sounds and the syllables and like the rhythms you can build. So I'm a writer first, for sure.
I don't know if I told you this, but like there was a point in writing my book that I reread I can't remember which one of your books, because the thing that you're able to do is the active talking. It's like it's lots of people try to write how they speak, and I try to do that, but it's literally like it is in the moment you're having a conversation that I was just like, how does it sound? What does it look like on the page? And I remember rereading it just being like, obviously I'm not going to do it like this, but like there's definitely an aspect of that, and like there's reviews and people who said, like, my book sounds like you're having a conversation with it. And I was like, it literally was your book was the thing that reminded me how to do it.
You guys, it's 2025 and a white man is giving a Black woman her flowers for her contribution professionally. I'm going to take a sip. Thank you so much for that.
Do you remember your girl boss peak? Like, what was the moment where you're like, and not in a negative way, where you were like, I am doing it. I am at the top of whatever this is. You running production companies and, imprints, and you're this and this. When did you feel like, okay, I'm at the top of Girl Boss Mountain?
I love Girl Boss Mountain. I think there are a few moments. I think the first one that comes to mind, this was probably 2019, I think. But when I moderated on Michelle Obama's book tour and I did like 5 cities, and that was just sort of like, okay. It's sort of like, just like, LOL, like, what is going on? Like, it just felt very wild. I just, I highly respect her. I loved her book so much. And to be asked to be a part of that, it just really felt like wow, I'm just been thoroughly myself, and her team get it. So that felt like really cool, especially because it's like she was doing arena. So it's like 20,000 people are showing up to listen to someone talk about their book. That's probably not going to happen again in our lifetime unless, like, I don't know, maybe Beyonce. Maybe, you know what I mean? But it just felt like really, really cool. And I was just kind of, it didn't feel real until like it was over. And then I was just like, wow, I like did that thing that I wasn't even like aspiring towards doing. Yeah. And that was just like a very like happy accident. I think another moment when I felt like I was girl bossing was probably, when I had my beloved show, Everything's Trash, just because, while I was making that show, I like broke up with my ex, and there was just a lot going on. There's a lot happening. It was my first time like starring in, creating, producing, and writing on a show. That was all like, I was wearing all those hats, and like it just really felt so like natural and really fun. And I'm like friends with all the people on the cast still, a lot of the writers. Like it just felt like I just knew what I was doing. You know what I mean? And I know sometimes it can be hard because you're like, I can't predict the future. I don't know if I'm like ready. And I'm just like, if you just like do the work when you step into a moment, like you got it. Like I'm sure when you started this, you were like, oh, I'm doing a podcast. Like I never done that before, but like you're great at it. You know what you're doing.
In your last book, you have some advice for bosses. Can you share at least one piece of advice that you to do? Before we talk about how bad it's being a boss, I want to at least give you a moment where you're like, I was a boss and I learned valuable lessons for future bosses.
Yes. I was going to say something, but it's kind of like negative.
Well, say the positive thing first and the negative thing second. It'll be a nice transition.
I think one of the things that I learned about being a boss is it like requires a lot of different parts of you. You think you just sort of have to be the person who has all the answers, or like you have to be the person that says no, like so people like don't cross boundaries. And then you realize like it requires like vulnerability, requires tenderness, it requires like all these things I think are great qualities in me as a performer, as a writer. They're absolutely applicable to me being a boss, but those aren't things that like we're told. When you become a CEO, like you should be a great listener. You should, be vulnerable with like all these things that are, I think, feminine qualities are not sort of like celebrated as boss attributes. And I'm like, I think that a lot of them actually are.
And then what was the negative thing you were going to say?
The negative thing I was going to say was learning how to fire people. Learning how to say goodbye, bitch.
That's how you said it? Is that what
No, but it's like you never want to be, as someone who's a Libra, a Scorpio moon, and Pisces rising, like I never want to be the bearer of bad news. But it's also like it's not my job if someone's not doing their job to just be like, oh well, it's okay because I don't want them to be mad at me. It's like pull up your britches and just say, hey, like I appreciate what you've done, but this isn't working out, and I wish you all the best. And it's uncomfortable, but I just think you gotta just do the uncomfortable stuff.
Did you have a moment where you felt like, as Taylor Swift says on her current album, you girl boss too close to the sun?
We're not even gonna touch that lyric because that sounds stupid as hell. Okay, girl. Okay, girl boss Icarus. Okay.
But you know what I mean. But like, was there a time you were like, this is that being a boss overcame essentially your whatever else of your identity?
Oh, for sure. I think definitely like during COVID, I was just like everything's stopping down. Like, what do I do? Like, oh my God, what's going on? Like I was 100% workaholic, and it was just mattered more than anything else. And like I took the losses hard. I took you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just was like so much of my identity. And then during COVID, it was just sort of like, okay, well, like what else is there to your life? Like I had no hobbies. I didn't really hang out with my friends that much. I didn't like see my family as much as I should. And so it was like all these things. I was just sort of in a place where I was like, you're kind of like too old to not have a full life. You know, like I understand you're in your 20s, you got to be in your grind, but what was COVID? COVID was what?
2019 through whatever.
Oh, so horrible. But I was like old enough to be like, there should be layers to my life. There should be other facets of my identity and who I am as a person that I'm tapping into and that I'm having joy with that's not based on monetary gain. And that just felt to me like I felt like I wasn't living my life as well as I could have. And so I went into therapy and I really had to do the work on that.
To talk about specifically the work-life balance?
Yeah, and just be like, I think I was, and Dr. Monica Johnson would agree with this, but I think I was very much tying myself to the results of things where I'd be like, okay, I do A, B, C, so DEF is exactly what should happen. And then if it didn't happen, I would just crash out. And it was just sort of like, well, you can't control the outcome. All you can control is just doing what you think is good and what is valuable to you, and then hope for the rest. And I think I was just so frustrated, and I think I spent so much time trying to be like, well, this is how things should be, rather than accepting the reality of what things are. And that was like my own sort of misery that I was bringing into it. So I think that, and then also I was very much the queen of like, oh, there's too much work on my plate, then like I won't go see my friends, or, oh, I won't rest. Like anything that was actually healthy for me and good for me, I would say, well, I won't do that to make more room for work. And you're like, well, that's just dumb.
Yeah, what are you working for?
Yeah, exactly. So there was a lot of that. Yeah.
This is also around the time where like girl boss became a punchline that people made fun of it. Were you aware of that? Did you have a moment where you're like looking in the mirror and go, am I a girl boss? Am I what they're saying on Twitter?
No, I never felt it to that degree. I mean, I did read that book, Girl Boss, by what was Sophia, whatever.
I don't remember her name. I just remember that. I forgot.
Yeah.
I periodically forget that a person like legitimately was like, that is who I am. I'm going to like push that as a brand.
I think it was just more I think I just sort of like felt a sense with like my other girlfriends, like we were all just like tired, and we're all sort of feeling like we're not getting back enough based on what we're putting out. And so I think that was more the thing that I felt at that time, was sort of kind of like, this kind of sucks. This isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be. This isn't like, I'm not as happy as I thought I was going to be with all of these things going on. And that really led to this special. I remember this. It was like 2023. So I was like moving out of my old apartment into this apartment that I bought. My brother was like in town. I had to go for a work thing. The day that I moved, I had to get on a train to go to DC and then come back and then go to LA and then come back and go to and I was like, this is crazy. And I remember texting my best friend. I was like, her name is Karen, but she's Italian, so she's a spicy white. Okay. But I remember texting her. I was like, I would suck a 72-year-old's dick if I did not have to get on this flight. And she was like, Phoebe, you're being crazy. I go, I mean this in the depths of my soul. If I could get out of this, I would. And I was like, light bulb. I'm like, I think that is sort of like maybe could be the thesis of my special, like having fun with that.
Yeah, because I think you say you thought it was going to set you free.
Mm-hmm.
And in many ways, it was like a treadmill that you could not get off.
Absolutely. And it just felt, that is like actually really a great... Someone wrote a book. But no, that is exactly how it felt, where it's like, I can't slow down. I have these employees. I have like, my lifestyle. I have this career that I'm doing. Like if I stop, blah, 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 blah. And so it just really, it goes from being like, I love doing stand-up and I love writing, I love acting, I love producing, to be like, well, I have to keep doing all of these things and juggling all these balls in the air because I can't stop, because then what's going to happen if I do? And that's just like not, I think as a creative person, that's just not the place we want to be, which is why I'm just so anti-content these days, because I just don't think that is how you make good things.
Yeah. I mean, I also think there's sort of a generational quality to it where as a generation who was like raised to both like work hard but also to aspire to sort of like a dream job, where it made it feel like, well, it's my dream job, so it's like actually fun, so I actually don't need to take breaks. Yeah. And then I do think a lot of people in that like many girl bosses I know, or just generally creative people, I think are at a point where they're like, wait, this is work this whole time.
Oh, I've always felt that. Whenever people say that, like, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Bitch, that is so not true. You are working and you love what you do, but you are working, and it's effort, and you're really like excavating yourself to create these things. So it's all working. You just have to have balance, and you just have to, I think for me, I just was always like, I don't have to feel beholden to these things. Yeah. Like I can actually take control of what I want to do or not want to do.
In the special, part of it was the breakup that you went through around this time, which was a long relationship. It was also a very public relationship. It became what is now called parasocial. You sort of like were a trendsetter in terms of like what a type of relationship would look like. When you look back upon in that aspect of your relationship, the fact of how public it is, how do you think about it?
I guess it was public. I guess for me, because I'm always like, I'm like not A-list, I'm like not Zendaya. But I think looking back on it, it was fun being public the way we are, because I feel like we were very jokey, and like it was never like, guys, this is how you do a relationship. Like we were just being people who were just both funny. And I think that going forward, I probably would be more private, just because I think like even when we broke up and people are like, you guys broke up? I didn't know. And I go, bitch, I don't know you. Why? You thought, like, you think I'm going DM me every person who follows me to be like, I broke up with my boyfriend. So I think people just need to calm down and take a step back and go, like, you don't know people that you follow that entertain you, like you really don't know them. But I don't think us being public was one of the issues in our relationship.
Sure. Yeah, I was just curious about it because I do think, as you're saying, you don't like the sort of content thing. I do feel like the way you had that relationship be just part of your brand, as the kids today would say, does feel like a content version of a relationship, but you were before that became so normalized.
Yeah, and it was just really like, I would just post whenever. Like it never felt like we were trying to be like, oh, this could be a thing that's funny or this could go viral. It was really like we were just being ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think now people like expect that from everyone, so it makes me be like, I don't want to participate in that.
In your last special, you talk about that relationship a good amount. And there are jokes that were negative about living with him during COVID that that special was framed as like, but it's great, like it's all positive. Do you now look back on those jokes differently? That you're like, oh, actually I was voicing an opinion, like it's almost like my stand-up self was ahead of how I was
I think it's more, and I'm trying to be careful because
Sure.
I don't want to, I've moved on, he has moved on. I think living together during COVID was fun in a lot of ways, but it was also tricky. And I think it also sort of rack focus things about the relationship that I think I saw sides of him that I don't think I would have seen if it weren't for COVID. And I think like one of the things like I think everyone like sort of like deals with stress and trauma and all those things in different ways. And I think he was, I don't know what he's like now, but he very much was a person like when I get down, I kind of have to like bring you down with me. And I'm a person where like, okay, I will allow myself a day or two to like feel sad, but like, let's get out of this. And I think those are just two different approaches to life and like how you handle adversity. But I do think being in a relationship with someone who is refusing to help themselves, so you are trying to help them. I fell into that trap that, Nicole Kim and I are similar in that way.
On the many ways.
Girl, I'm one of many. No, but that instinct to help, I don't always think that when some men are at their lowest, their partner being helpful and supportive, they end up resenting you for that because it's like you're seeing them at their lowest, and it's like they punish you for liking them when they're in a moment when they don't like themselves. And so I think because I was so busy and like trying to keep the relationship together and being like the sunshine, I think I wasn't present in all the ways that the relationship probably should have just wrapped up sooner than it did. And so I think that was the takeaway from that. But the jokes, I do feel like I meant them with love. I was like, I did love this guy. Like, even though he was annoying at times, I was annoying too. So it felt like that's part of being a couple. You're annoying. But I think in this latest special, it is sort of me taking stock of like, this person was kind of a hot mess and I was carrying him for too long.
Yeah, so the joke is hinged on you bought him teeth.
I bought it. So listen, I wouldn't do that again. And I'm sure if I called my business manager, Scott, before I did that, he'd been like, bitch, you are not buying this white man teeth. Now, he probably wouldn't have said the white man part, but but I think that was a thing where it's like, I just loved him so much and I wanted to help. And in the special, I'm just sort of like, no, that's like kind of ridiculous to like go and do that. But it was a good lesson to learn. And I've had multiple people be like, I did that too. So
you call it reverse colonizing. But
Yeah.
my favorite part, maybe my favorite joke in the special is you go, it's like the upside down where Millie Bobby Brown's name is Millie Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
And I go, that's so stupid.
It's so stupid, right?
And I was like, it's nice that got snuck into this special.
Thank you.
Do you give a person a heads up? Like, would you be like, hey, just, I talk about you in the special? I don't know if you talk
Like to my ex?
Yeah.
No. Why?
I don't know. That's why I asked the question.
Absolutely not. Okay.
Okay.
I need to send him a bill for how much money I fucking helped him out with.
Tangentially, but they're related. In your last special, you tell we mentioned Michelle Obama. In the last special, you do talk about that experience, and you tell a specific story about that time. For those of you, can you share the general experience of that you talked about in that last special?
Yes. I mean, again, Michelle Obama is everything. And, I hung out with her and some peeps afterwards, like people on her team, the people who were with me. It's really fun. It was great. I was out here eating cheese like I'm not lactose intolerant because I'm just like, Cece puede. You know what I mean? I'm still in that yes, we can moment. And, your girl had gas. And I was like, well, what we're not going to do is fart around Michelle Obama because she's been through enough. And so I just held it in till I got back to my hotel room, and it was just the longest fart into my toilet bowl. It was so much butt jazz. I was like, how much blue cheese did I have?
Did you think about her? Do you know if she saw that special?
I think she's busy.
I don't know. She's had a few years.
I don't know if she saw the special, but her and I text occasionally, and she's just always very lovely.
You'd be like, don't watch the special.
Well, no, what I did learn from her is, like, whenever I text her, she, like, literally responds within 5 minutes. So I'm like, when men are like, I was talking to this one guy on Bumble, and he was like, oh, I didn't call because I fell asleep. And I go, you fell asleep. Like, no one at our age, we don't fall asleep. Like, it takes a lot to power down our computers. And I go, if Michelle can respond within 5 minutes, these dudes taking hours, absolutely not. So that was one thing I learned from her was,
I know Bill Burr's one of your favorite comedians. Around this time, he did material about her arena tour?
Yeah.
It was basically about, he basically goes like, she's playing arenas. She's not playing comedy clubs.
Yeah.
Like, the idea of how she's playing arenas. I mean, he is also an arena act, so, like, it shouldn't be bitter. And essentially it goes, she wrote a book about not having a job. I didn't know if you had opinions about it.
I mean, I remember that. And I go, listen, I know he's a contrarian. I'm just like, sometimes I just want to be like, you can just not have a take. That, like, it's also cool to, like, shut the fuck up if you want. But I love him. He's great. I wouldn't tell him to STFU to his face. But it just felt like, I know he's, like, trying to be funny. But I do also, I just find it interesting how easily men in society dismiss the contributions of women if it's not tied to money, when actually things would not run if women weren't doing the emotional labor, the domestic labor, raising kids, making sure that men have their... You know how many times, like, Michelle probably had to be like, oh, Barack, oh, I know, babe, Barack. You know how much she had... You know how draining that was, that she had to do that, like, oh, come here, babe. Like, that is work.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, she was working hard. Bill, you do your thing. Let Mish do her thing.
I think that's a good transition to, I want to talk to you about podcasting.
Yeah.
Because you were so associated with the form for a few years. And I was curious, what do you think of the state of comedy podcasting?
It's too much. I can't. Everyone has a microphone. It's really... When Jessica and I did it, it was like a lot of people weren't doing it. You know what I mean? And so it felt sort of like... And there was always intention behind our shows to, like, be funny, to showcase people that we thought were really talented who weren't doing, sets on late night television. So it always had a purpose. And now everyone's just sort of like, well, I could get in front of a microphone and I can share my opinions. And I'm like, most of these opinions are ass. Most of these opinions and these hot takes are terrible. They're not interesting. And I think you need to take a test before you can have a podcast. You need to listen. It's too much. It's too much noise pollution. So
what will be on the test? I need to study up.
God, I mean, some of it is just like, are you dumb as fuck? Like, and write an essay proving that you're not. Like, and just like, I don't know. There's so much to the space of podcasting right now where I think because, oh, we're just hanging, I'm just saying things, I'm just whatever. There's a cavalierness to it when people are saying some of the most unhinged, inappropriate, sexist, racist things that I'm just like, why are we all so casual about things that are actually quite hateful? That is the part that I don't love. And I really feel when I was podcasting, it was really like, you're trying to do something fun or creative, or you want to be weird, or you want to be whatever. And now I feel like so much of it's like, what are the things that I can say that A, will get the most attention, will get me the most sort of fans, and make me the most amount of money. And I just go, it doesn't feel interesting or sexy or weird or left of center the way that it did when I was doing it.
Would you return?
Oh, yeah. I think I would. Because I think I would want to do an interview podcast next. Because I like interviewing people and listening to them. I just think people are really fascinating. And I think I take a lot of preparation when I interview people. Like I remember when I interviewed Michelle, it was about 4 days of prep where I was just like nonstop highlighting, trying to figure out what's the arc of this conversation. Gonna like all those things that are like really fun and deliciously nerdy. Like I miss that part.
So I believe it's the 10-year anniversary of when you started doing Two Dope Queens as a live show, give or take.
Yeah.
So, which you co-hosted with Jessica Williams, that was then turned into a popular podcast, an HBO show, and it was a, you came to it with intention, and it changed comedy, definitely, especially in New York. It changed who went up where, who went to shows where, and so I want to talk about it a little bit because I think there's probably a lot of people who just go to shows and they're like, oh, this is what comedy always was like. And it was not like this before Two Dope Queens. So for those who aren't familiar, how did it start and what were your hopes as you were developing it? Especially as it became a thing you and Jessica were doing together.
Yeah, it really was. It happened organically. So 2015, there was a post on Craigslist. I'm young, you guys. I swear, I'm a youth. But it was to do background for a piece for the Daily Show, and this piece was Black women's hair in the military. So I was like, sure, like that'll be cool. And then when I go like do these like stand up shows, I could be like, oh, as seen on the Daily Show. You need to have a credit. Back then, it was very important to have a credit, so you could feel worthy of being on the show. And so her and I met, and we sort of like hit it off between setups, and she was just like really nice and funny, and I was like, oh, I have this podcast I tape out of my apartment. Would you ever want to come and be a guest on it? She was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And so she did it. We had so much fun. And one of the things that I think she said her birthday was coming up, and I go, oh, what would you want to do for your birthday? And she's like, oh, I've always wanted to try stand-up. And I was like, oh, that'd be fun. I was like, what if we just like, I have this show, what if we just co-host it together? And then you could say like, oh, I tried it, maybe I want to do it some more. And she said, okay. And so she was busy doing Daily Show stuff, and I was probably doing like day job stuff and then stand up at night. So we didn't get a chance to like really meet up and talk about what we're going to do. So when we got to UCB East, I was like, here are 3 things that happened to me this week. And she was like, okay, here are 3 things that happened to me this week. And I was like, great, we'll just like talk about it and figure it out. Because she had done improv, I'd done improv. I'm like, it'll be fine. And that truly was sort of like the genesis of Two Dope Queens, where Jessica and I, a lot of what we did was off the cuff. And the UCBE show was like just such a success. It was really fun. It felt really natural. And we're like, oh, like, yeah, maybe we should do that again. Like, it felt like a good first date, And so then we did it again. And then the second show sold out the way the first show sold out. Then we did a third show that sold out, a fourth one. And I was just kind of like, maybe we could move this somewhere where we could actually, like, make money from, the ticket sales. Yeah. I won't say anything, but I'm also like, Amy, girl, I need some money.
Tina and Amy are watching this together.
And so then we moved it to Union Hall, and then it grew, and then we did, oh God, what's the bigger venue? Bell House, thank you. And it just became this thing, and it was super fun. And I was like, I feel like this could be a podcast. And she was already doing stuff with WNYC, so it just all really happened organically and just grew from there.
Do you have a definitive Two Dope Queens memory?
Oh, you know what's a fun one? It's not a definitive one, but it's a fun one, is John Hamm had reached out to my manager at the time and was like, I really like Two Dope Queens. Like, I would love to do it sometime. So that I was like, oh, that's nice, because you never know who listens.
Yeah.
Like, we're just, I don't want to say we, because I don't know. But for me, I'm very much like, I just do what I do. I create what I create, and I don't know who likes it or how. So I'm always pleasantly surprised and moved when people like my stuff.
Yeah. What was we talked about a little bit, which is like getting different people up on stage than we're being there, or just like up on Union Hall stage, or was once thought of as alternative comedy. But like, you did that, and then especially like I think with the TV show, you gave a lot of people the first late night spots, or just TV spots in general. When you look back upon it, like, how do you think about it? How do you process what it meant?
Oh, I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it. It was very much a direct line in certainly my brain of like, this is what this show should be. It should be a platform for people who I think are brilliant and don't have as much attention as they should. And it really just came out that way. And HBO got what we were doing. They said they didn't want us to change anything. They were like keep this for the show. And I feel like when I started doing stand-up, when I started getting into publishing, like just so much you're just told like you don't fit, you don't belong, you can't do like the number of times people told me that I would never make it in Hollywood, I would never have a career in comedy. Just for laughs, told my manager that. I didn't forget. All these things, I just was like, T-Dope Queens, like we accomplish what we set out to do. And that's not always the case when you do something creatively.
Yeah. What's your relationship with Jessica like now?
I think it's more like we're both on our grind. Which I know it's gross, but now we have to be on our grind because the industry is falling apart. So we're both booked and busy and doing what we're doing. But I think what she's doing is amazing. She thinks what I'm doing is amazing. And I'm so happy for her. And I think it was just it was like one of those things that was just like it came along at the right time in both of our lives. And we got out what we wanted from it. And yeah, I have nothing but positive feelings.
You mentioned the industry falling apart. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I just feel like we're in such a weird state where some of it is affected by social media, where it's just about content and constantly pumping things out and not like giving anything room to breathe or to grow. And then also, with streaming, we're just in a place where there's just too many distractions. So the way that we all watch TV is different. Like we're not all watching stuff at the same time, really. And so I think right now there are a lot of cool things happening, but I think there's also a lot of things where people are scared. Like they don't want to do left to center things. They don't want to do things that are creatively going to push the envelope. And that's the thing that I think is a bummer because I'm like, I feel like it's stuff like Fleabag or Sinners or, what have you. Like those things just have such a unique voice and point of view. And that's part and parcel why it's successful, like why people resonates with people because of that.
I was curious. So you, with Two Dope Queens and then the success of your books, you had a thing that happens to comedians where it's like there's this heat and momentum of just sort of like, okay, you're just going to keep on doing the thing and then you'll get the show and then you do whatever. And it just sort of builds and builds. And like, I'll say even like I experienced a much smaller version of like I had the podcast and then that builds to a book and then I did a TV version of the podcast. And then you sort of you do the things that are the first thing you do from it. And then you have to still have a career, but it's not the sort of specific momentum. I was curious how that has felt for you being in the stage of like, you are still working, you're still producing, but like, it's not as a linear of a path from like where your genesis.
Yeah, sometimes it's frustrating because I do think I'm really talented and I'm like, someone just give me a shot to do these crazy ideas that I have in my head. But I think the other thing that's come out of it, which I think is actually as equally important, is I think when I started doing when I started doing stand-up, I was 23 going on 24. I was an insecure person who isn't in their 20s. And I think I needed stand-up in a way that I don't need it now. And I think a lot of it was the sort of like external validation of like, oh, I'm on the right path. I'm doing this thing. I am funny. I can do this. And I worked twice as hard to get this thing and blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of that fueled my ambition, and now I'm in a much more peaceful place where it's like I know I'm funny. I'm like, okay, I didn't book that movie. I know I'm good. And I think there is more internal peace. Now, don't get me wrong. Will I probably cry this weekend if something doesn't work out work-wise? Of course. But I think there's an element of unshakability. I think I'm more rooted within myself than I was before.
You're still doing many things. The imprint is doing quite well.
Yeah, 5 years.
I know, it's wild. In
So
books,
crazy.
of the many industries that are, having trouble. But, of the things, what are you most proud of?
Of everything I've done, oh my gosh. I think Two Dope Queens, obviously, which you touched on. I think the imprint as well, because especially when you meet for nonfiction, you write like a book proposal, okay, and you sell it off of that, and you can go write the book. But with fiction, you have to write the whole thing. So these are people who, this one author, Jess Gutierrez, she will work all day. She has kids, go home, hang out with her wife, do the kid stuff. Everybody went to sleep, and then she would get out her notes app in her phone, and that's how she would write her book. And I go, that level of dedication when no one is giving you a dime is remarkable. And so when her book came out and, it was well received, is all those things you just feel sort of like, yes, like believing in yourself and working hard when there's like no proof that it's going to work out. I love things where it's like, it's about proving yourself right rather than proving others wrong. Because I don't want to center other people. I want to center myself. So I think I'm really proud of that. As much as like complain about not wanting to work, I visited my girlfriend and when I was in London for my birthday, and we're hanging out, and I was just sort of playing like, oh, I just really thought I'd find my person by now, and da-da-da, and like, sometimes just feel sad about it, because you do kind of have to, like mourn the ways in which your life is not what you thought it was going to be. And, she's brilliant, PhD, is a teacher, and now she's a stay-at-home mom, and, that's like a massive undertaking. And her house is so beautiful. And she was like, but Phoebe, you did it. She was like, you worked your ass off and bought your own apartment. And I go, I was like, you have your house? She goes, I did not buy this house. She goes, you bought your apartment. Like, you could say that you did it yourself. And I was just sort of reframing like, oh, I have to do this myself. More in like, I get to do this myself. That's like how I get through like workouts sometimes, where I'm like, I don't have to run 18 miles today, which shudder. It's like, I get to run those 18 miles. I know, Jess, you have a marathon. No, you should be a marathoner with me.
That's not going to happen. But I'm happy for you. It's just, I find, to me, it's like running was always the punishment in like any sports I played. So I just cannot be like, let me run I tried it one time. I just like moved to LA and I go, I'm going to run because it's nice out. And truly, let's say 4 minutes in, I was like, this is so boring. To say nothing about track, where it's like literally.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that's sort of interesting, it's like, this is sort of, I guess, the upside of being a girl boss, is like you had intentions, be both personal, you bought your place, but also like Two Dope Queens was a thing created with intention to change a business structure. And like the same thing with Tiny Reparations as an imprint, like these people are not getting their books published. I hope to be able to help do that. And like a bunch of people were able to get books published that probably would not have been otherwise been published.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be a girl boss, what do you want to be?
Ooh. Okay, that feels like a Barbara Walters question. I'm here for it. We're channeling all the interview gods. If I don't want to be a girl boss, what do I want to be? I want to be content. I think I have my moments where I feel content and I feel happiness, but I think I also have, sometimes a little like narrative that's running on loop that doesn't always say the nicest things to me if I get stressed out. And so I think becoming more centered and like not allowing myself to sort of like beat myself up, I think would be good. But if I couldn't be a girl boss, the other thing I would probably want to be is, in another life, I was like, I think I would have loved being a music producer. Just because I really, like, if you look at like Beach Boys, like Pet Sounds, like the way they layer the harmonies, like I love putting things together, whether it's IKEA furniture or like writing a book or putting together a TV show. Like I really just love the nuts and bolts of like, okay, I have an idea. It's in my head, and then I can work to build it and make it a real thing. So I think if I weren't a girl boss, I'd be a music producer.
I really liked how the special looked, and I was very interested. There's all the zooming. Was there an idea behind that?
So that was directed by the fabulous Sharzad Davani, who, has done, she's directed like St. Denis, Abbott Elementary, like a lot of great like sitcoms. She also did a couple episodes of Everything's Trash. And I had a great experience with her. And what I liked about working with her on this is what I saw in Everything's Trash is I think sometimes when something is a comedy, people are like, oh, you don't really have to care about how it looks. And I'm just like, no, you can make it a little bit cinematic and make interesting choices and still get the jokes across. And I thought she did a great job of that. And so with the special, she was just like, I met with her and I was like, I want to meet with some other people to do my due diligence. And she was like, yeah, I've heard the hour and, I want to see it in person. But she was like, I have this great idea for this backdrop. And like, you talk about like so much being a girl boss. And then she was like, I think we should do something that's like really like feminine. And then she's like, you could wear like a suit that's like masculine. So I was playing with all these sort of like ideas. And she was like, you're so expressive. So she's like, I want to make sure I get like a lot of like zooms to capture your face and then get some wide shots. So I think she was just really intentional about hearing the material and making sure that we're not just going to be standing in front of like a red curtain with a microphone and that it just has like a little zhuzh to it, which I thought was great.
So now it's time for our final segment. It's called the Laughing Round. It's like a lightning round.
This is good. Jesse, I want to just keep hanging out.
Well, you take as long as you need with these questions.
Okay.
Honestly, all these questions are actually take longer answers than many of the other questions. I don't know. It's too late. I can't change the name of the segment, but it just means we're resetting. And anyway, in the grand tradition of WTF with Mark Maron, I ask people, who are your guys? So who are your guys? As in the comedians that influence you or are the greats?
Gosh, Janine Garofalo, she's wonderful, and her and I have become friendly over the years. Which I didn't always, it's just like, how do you expect that to ever happen? So for her, for sure, I really loved Patrice O'Neal so much. So funny.
Have you met him?
I met him, gosh, this was probably 2010. It was like at Caroline's, and I forget, I was wearing something, but he was like roasting me based on what I was wearing. And it was like so funny. And he was so spot on. I like loved it. But he was just so brilliant. I got to see him at a few different places, and he was just really good about using the audience as like another instrument and weaving in and out of material. Like he was so brilliant. He really was brilliant. Of course, Chris Rock, obviously amazing. Wanda Sykes, love her so much, so talented. Bill Burr, I like a lot. Yeah, those are probably the people off the top of my head where I'm just like, you're amazing.
Have you met Wanda?
Yes, she's great.
Yeah. Do your favorite joke, like a street joke, or dad joke?
Oh, I don't have those. I know I saw this on the like I knew this question was coming. I was like, I don't do that.
Okay. I guess the difference between this section is you could pass on questions.
Yeah. I feel like Noah Wiley when he was on Jennifer Hudson's show, and he was like, I'm not going to do the spirit tunnel. I don't have
I
a
didn't
dad
know that's
joke.
allowed.
Yeah, he was just like, I don't dance. He's like, I'm not going to do it.
Now that I know that.
Yeah, you could turn it down.
Because I see the spirit tunnel and it makes me feel so nervous. It'd be like what I would have stress dreams about. It'd be like you wake up and you're unprepared to do the spirit tunnel. The idea that you can say no means that now when I see everyone, that means they said yes to doing it. So they're not, like literally that's how you have to go on the show. Thank you so much for that.
Of course.
Is there a joke you wish you could steal, another comedian joke that you wish you were able to tell, and it's your joke? But
It's so hard because I think because I'm so voice driven that I wouldn't want to steal anyone else's joke because I don't think I could do it the same way they could do it. But what I do like is watching comedians who I could never like watching Tig Notaro. I'm like,
Mhm.
I can't do anything that she does, and I find it so fascinating. Like I know some people get like very, like a little like, oh, well, I'm not gonna give. It's like everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like so, I like that kind of stuff.
Do you have a short story of an interaction with a legendary comedian, living or dead, you're willing to share with us?
Yes. So I especially for this last hour, I used to work out a lot at Eastville Comedy Club in Brooklyn because it was like near me. So I could always just like pop over, do like 15, 20 minutes and bounce. And Marco's a great booker there. He would always, Ginny and I did like a lot of shows. And so he would always put me on after her because like, oh, it's Ginny and then from Two Dope Queens and like blah, 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 whatever. And I was just always like, okay, I just am always following Janine. I was like, all right, I guess. And so, I would like get there early so I could like watch her set in the back. And then she just was always so free and so funny and fluid, like amazing. And she would go off stage, shake hands, and then she would watch my set. And so the first time she did that, I'm sure it was just sort of like, oh, I hadn't seen this person live. I just want to see like what's up. And I was like, oh, it's cool. And then like if she didn't have another spot, almost every single time she would just stay and watch my set. And I was like, why does she keep watching my set? I was like, Janine, Reality Bites Janine, Romy and Michelle Janine. So one time I came off stage and, I went to like my notebook to like sort of like make notes on like, oh, whatever. And she goes, she's like, you do the work. She was like, I always see you. You have like your little notebook. You're working on it beforehand. And afterwards you go off and she's like, you really get a lot done in a day. And like, she was just aware of like the things that I do, which is just like really nice. And like, we really just have like a lovely interaction. Like we would go for tea sometimes. And then we were hanging out and I was just like, oh yeah, blah, 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 my birthday's coming up. And she goes, oh, my birthday's coming up. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was born in September. She goes, I was born in September. And I go, okay, September 28th. She goes, that's my birthday. And I go, what? And she goes, I knew there was always a reason I felt a little maternal towards you. And it's because we have the exact same birthday. So it was really sweet and really lovely. And she was always complimentary. And she's just has the funniest stories. And she's so smart and so brilliant. So I'm just always like, if you ever feel slightly intimidated that someone you respect is watching you, take that as like, respect.
Yeah.
Is that cute?
It is very cute. I thought you were like, and then we threw a joint birthday party.
No, oh my God, I wish.
What is the funniest U2 song?
The funniest one? Oh God, there are a couple where I'm like, girl, why you write that lyric?
Is it one of the ones where he's like dancing around like a little devil guy?
Oh gosh, I love my boys so much. I always think Vertigo is funny just because they just count Spanish just incorrectly. And you're like, okay.
This is, as a person who's seen you two at the Sphere, I always think about the Sphere and if a comedian can ever play the Sphere. Can you think of any comedian that you think would use the Sphere correctly?
No.
Okay. Asked and answer. What is something that some people think is comedy that you think is not comedy?
Can I name a person? I'm just kidding.
You can do it.
I'm not doing
As we speak, a clip of a past guest naming a specific person is doing quite well. So feel free.
One thing that is comedy that I don't think is comedy, lazy crowd work. I just don't like it. And I like crowd work. I've seen it done really well, where you're like, oh, this is amazing, this is brilliant, da 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 da. But when it's so lazy and it's so like, I'm just gonna fall on stereotypes, or like you could tell like, oh, this person only had like 20 minutes material and you're just gonna pad the rest with like 40 minutes of crowd work. I just go, we spend so much time at our jobs that if you aren't going to put the effort in to the time that you're spending at your job, then you are essentially wasting your time. And so for me, I just hate that. And I'm like, there's so many, like, I think it's such a privilege and a joy to do stand up and to like have an idea and figure it out and like be a doctor with like all the word choices. And so to just not be a participant in that and take the easy way out, I'm just like, why the fuck are you doing this? I don't like it.
When you said we spend so much time at our jobs, I thought you were going to say, no one wants to be reminded of their job when they come to comedy show. Stop asking people what they do for a living.
Yeah, it's like, what do you do for a living? Are you single? It's
like,
just
I came here not to think about work.
Yes. And by all means, like, but this is what I loved about Patrice, because I always feel like there was an intentionality behind his like crowd work. He wasn't like, oh, what's your day job? He would never ask something so pedestrian.
Yeah.
Like, it was always like in the context of how he was viewing male-female relationships, race relations, like society. Like, there's always something highly intellectual that he was doing. And then he was able to use that moment of, sort of crowd work as a way to distill it into something like easily digestible to serve his point.
Yeah. Do you have a joke that never worked that you'll go to your grave being like, I was right, they were wrong? That is funny.
Oh. No. And here's why I say no, because I'm like, I'm very much a firm believer. Like, there are some funny jokes where you're like, oh, this is so cute, even if it doesn't get a big laugh. But ultimately, if a joke truly is not working, like no one's laughing, and you do it like for 20 different shows, it's not fucking funny. And it's okay to be like, yeah, that joke was ass. I won't. I have those jokes where I'm like, oh, not gonna do that again.
Last one. What is the best time you bombed?
Best time, because there are a few. There are a few. I did this show. And these are the things you do when you're just hungry for a stage time. You're like, yes, I got 5 minutes. I can do 7 minutes here. Sure. I did this show where it was like stand-ups would go between stripper acts. And the thing about that is the men really are like, the last thing you want to hear is a woman talk right now. You're on stage going, bah, 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 bah. I don't want to fucking hear that shit. So... Oh, I got cooked doing that show. Oh, they just want to see titties. So that was rough. So I would say, but it's worth doing those shows, because I think where I'm at now, what is it, 2025? So what is that, 2008? What is that, 17 years? I absolutely do not care if I have a bad set. It's a weird, and I have talked about this in other things in my life. I can have emotional detachment to certain things. And with stand-up, I'm like, none of it matters until I want to tape it. And everything else is going to the gym, experimenting, figuring out, making, like, just tightening everything. So if I have a bad show, I'm just always like, oh, it's okay. Like, it doesn't feel great all the time, but I'm like, it's okay. Like, and I will tell the audience sometimes, I'll be like, this set is going to work in the future, and I hope you're at that show and you can see the progress that was made. And that's what it is. I think it's what I love about stand-up, I know we gotta go, but what I love about stand-up is I think it's so much like life, in that it's not focusing on like, I gotta kill, I gotta get this, I gotta go to this destination. It's really, truly the process of doing it and figuring out and what you learn about yourself. And so, I don't know, I just like, if I have a bad show, I'm just like, the world continues. The world goes on. It doesn't mean I'm not a great person. It doesn't mean that my parents don't love me. It just means I had a bad set. And sometimes you get your ass handed to you. That's just how life goes. And then people forget. You remember it more. Like I truly can't remember, and I've seen bad stand-up shows. I can't remember anyone who was bad because you delete it out of your mind.
Or you're like, I saw Chris Rock and he bombed. Like, you're like, that's a better story than like, I saw Chris Rock and like he was fine.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I say just embrace. This is the other thing, and then we're gonna leave. But this is the
last question, so you can take 30 minutes on this one.
Thing. No, but I think one of the things that I don't love, there are many things I don't like about this whole pumping up content. But what I don't like about it is if you're always at the ready to film, to post, you're never fucking in the moment. And so you're always in the back of your mind going, how is this going to look? Is this going to go viral? And I think it restricts you from making mistakes that actually, in the long run, will serve your hour. And so if you're constantly like looking at it, but not being in it and performing it and taking time to process it once it's done, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. So I'm like, enough of this content, enough of like every year I gotta have a new hour. No, you don't. Let us miss you. Let us fucking not hear from you for 9 months. Like, it's great. It is so great when I don't hear from a comic and they drop a special. I'm like, oh, I missed you. I missed you. I don't want to go, yeah, I saw you like fart out your mouth on Tuesday on Instagram and now it's too much. So I want people who are doing stand-up, who are starting out, to forget cringe. I don't care. Oh, I said something funny, it didn't work. Big whoop, who cares? Like, just really be open to the process. And don't restrict yourself and allow yourself to fail, because that's how you get good. You don't get good by always being good. What is that? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I missed you.
I missed you too, even though it felt like I talked so much. You said very little. It was really a delight to hang out with you.
You as well. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.